Welcome to Richmond, Virginia. Welcome to the Coast to Coast iRacing League. We are here for round 4 in their series at the Richmond Raceway, a .72 mile oval in Virginia, and currently the ambient temperature is 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not extremely hot for racing. We have 56% humidity, a partly cloudy sky, and no winds to speak of. Track temperature is 108 degrees Fahrenheit, and what we've seen so far from practice, that might be a slight bit of an issue for the drivers tonight. So tonight we're going to be doing 180 laps on this speedway, and we are going to skip qualifying for a change, and we're going to reverse the standings in the championship to grid up the drivers. So let's take a look at those standings. The standings after 3 rounds is that J.D. Woodward has 88 points and leading them, and 8 points behind him is Sean Ritalik. Then it's Kevin Woods, Ken MacArthur, Tanner Nowell, Lane Bullock, Robbie Helms, Michael Edwards, Dalton Hayes, and Steve Anderson rounding out your top 10. And further down the list, you can find your favorite driver in the standings. So we are going to skip that qualifying and go straight into racing, reversing the standings as they are, and whoever is not here, obviously, that's a lucky shot for whoever should be standing behind him. So if we can see real quickly, I don't believe we've seen Mike Dodson. We do have, let me see, Brian Edmonds. So we'll see here in a little bit. Ooh, somebody closing in on that camera here. We'll see the guys line up here in a little bit. We are ticking away the final few minutes of the warm-up practice, and let's take a quick look at how they're doing in that warm-up practice. And it looks currently like scoring's not showing me everybody, so let's refresh that really quickly for you. Little hiccup in scoring, and it should be better now. No, it's not. Not sure what's going on here. Well, we're having a slight issue with scoring here, so we're going to have to make do with what we got. We're going to try again when the race starts. Currently in the warm-up session, and we are ticking away the final 5 minutes of that, as you can see in the top left corner of your screen. The fastest driver in the practice session was J.D. Woodward with a 22.16. And the second spot is being taken by the number 5 car of Hank Kasten. Third is Lane Bullock. Fourth is Sean Retallick. Fifth is Michael Edwards. It's Colton Cavett still out here on track, who's currently in the 6th position in the warm-up. Then it's Steve Anderson in the 99 car. Kevin Woods, the 9th position, currently being held by Ken MacArthur here in the 97 car, still out on track. The 10th position, Brian Edmonds. Brian Rose is in 11th. Tanner Nowell is in 12th. And Jacob Edward is in 13th. And we haven't seen Dalton Hayes on the track just yet. And he might just be waiting until we are gridding up. Beautiful track here, a little bit under a mile, about 3/4 of a mile. Quite different from the bigger tracks for these guys. It's all about throttle control. It's all about pacing yourself, saving your tires. We're going to be doing 100 laps here. So some other things you need to know about this race. This is a fixed setup race, meaning that the drivers did not have the opportunity to change any settings on their car. The only setting they can play with is the brake bias, and the brake bias is basically a knob on the dash with which or a handle with which they can distribute the braking force between the front wheels and the rear wheels. Now, most drivers will not be braking very much, but they might be slightly leaning on that brake and move the brake bias backwards a little bit, and that would help the car rotate into the turn. The drivers call it trail braking. Not everybody does it. Some drivers just handle it with the throttle, but there are a few drivers probably that use that technique. Now, with the tires, with the track being fairly hot, we saw it was something like 108 degrees Fahrenheit. We may see some drivers get a little bit into trouble with tires, and trail braking might result in losing the back end on turning. Another thing you need to know for tonight's race is that the drivers get one fast repair. Fast repair means that iRacing gives the drivers basically a total reset of the car when they're in the pits with damage. They can do that only once. It does not include fuel and tires, so if they need fuel and tires in that pit stop, you'll still see them in there a little bit. But it means that the sheet metal, the car itself, and suspension damage, steering damage, and stuff like that will be reset for them. They have one of those. So after the first fast repair, if they collect any damage, they're on their own. The pit lane speed limit here at Richmond Raceway is 40 miles an hour. They'll be coming down the backstretch with about, well, let's say right around 135 to 140 miles an hour. And then they have to go below the yellow line and manage that speed. Before the cones, they need to be at 40 miles an hour to make sure that they don't get a penalty. Then another thing to know for this race is that they run on a 70% fuel capacity. iRacing lets the organizers play with the fuel capacity of the car. In this case, the league has decided to give the guys 70% fuel, which means that we will be stopping for fuel a little bit more than we would in reality. So 70% fuel, one fast repair, fixed setups. They have unlimited tires, so there's no worry about tire wear. Well, there's worry about tire wears to make them last a full stint, but they can use as many sets of tires as they want, and they can have them changed on either right side, left side, or both. So, let's see if we can find the grid for these guys. There we are. On the pole position, it's Brian Edmonds. On the outside of row 1, it'll be Lane Bullock. On the third position, it'll be Hank Caston. On the outside of him, it will be Colton Cavett. The fifth spot is for Michael Edwards, and then the sixth spot on his outside is for Tenor Nowell, excuse me. The fourth row is for J.D. Woodward and Sean Ritalik. Then it's Steve Anderson and Kevin Woods on the fifth row. The sixth row is for Ken MacArthur and Brian Rose. And then we have a seventh row with Jacob Edwards, Dalton Hayes, and in the 15th and final spot for this race we have Blake Powers. Once again, 180 laps from now we will be able to see who did the best. Coast to Coast iRacing League, fourth round in their series. So reversed order from the standings has determined this grid. So that means that the top guys like J.D. Woodward and Sean Ritalik, they have their work cut out for them. I have not seen Blake Powers on the grid, and I have not seen Dalton Hayes. So currently we have 13 cars rolling on the grid. Brian Edmonds here in the Hardy's car, number 28, on the pole position. The reversed order gives him a good shot of scoring some good points in the championship here. And the same is true for Jacob Edwards. And it looks like Jacob Edwards is running a different number than scoring gives him. That's all right. We'll deal with it. Looks like we're doing 2 warm-up laps here at Richmond, short track. The banking is not actually all that high. I believe it's something like 13 degrees, or so it's a lot more driving than the bigger tracks like Daytona, Talladega, where it's all about going all full throttle and drafting. We're not going fast enough to draft here. Like I said, top speed is right around 135 to 140 miles an hour on the front stretch. There we go. We are racing, and we have the 27 of Jacob Edwards picking the lead up there on the high side. And it looks like Brian Edmonds is getting it back with the 4 of Colton Cavett right behind him. The 27 slowing down a little bit compared to them on the high side. Then we have Jacob Edwards. I'm sorry, that is Jacob Edwards. Then we have Michael Edwards in the 21 car right behind him. Not sure if they're related. Brian Rose in the series colors in the number 24 car. It's Colton Cavett in the 4 pushing to the lead now. The 28 of Brian Edmonds in second spot, and Michael Edwards pushing into third here past Jacob. Let's keep her up front here. Colton Cavett in the lead. It looks like Colton is pulling away from Brian there. Oh, quite a bit actually. And Michael Edwards closing in on the 28 already. And we should be seeing a lot of that because the faster guys have been forced to start in the back. Oh, there we have a problem for Brian Rose. Let's go and take a look at that real quickly here. The 24 tapping the wall, coming back on the track right in front of the 5, and both of them nosing into the wall there. That's very unfortunate. Field slowing down, first yellow of the day in lap 4. Let's see if Brian is going to take that faster pair. The nose is pretty damaged on that car, and so is the rear end. And let's see if the 5 car is going to be doing the same thing. That's Hank Caston. It looks like Hank is a little bit more unscathed than Brian Rose. He might decide to save that faster repair. Let's see, the pit lane's probably still closed. Somebody's going in the pit there. That's J.D. Howard. And Hank Caston decided to come in already. So Howard in the pits, not sure why. He looks like he's okay. May have had a little tap here and there. Obviously, he was in the back of the pack. Caston in the pits. And let's see if we can see. I don't believe he needs that faster pair, so I hope he didn't use it. And let's take a look here at Brian. Brian Rose looks like he could definitely use that faster pair, but he stayed out, so maybe he's going to change his mind. Nope, not yet. He might want to save that faster pair for later. Not aware probably that his front body work there is pretty much gone, and that we're looking at his radiator right now. Still running in 11th position, and it looks like Howard and Caston have rejoined the race. And once again, Blake Powers did not take the start. So Colton Cavett still in the lead here in the number 4 car. You can tell that the number 4 is on there, but it's a little bit difficult to read. Brian Edmonds in the 28 car. He is hanging on to that second spot for now. Then it's Michael Edwards in the 21 and Jacob Edwards on your scoring shown as 13, and his car shows number 27. I hope they can get that sorted out because it's a little bit confusing. Then it's Kevin Woods in the 26 car in 5th, and then in 6th it's Steve Anderson in the 99. The 97 of Ken MacArthur is in 7th. Lane Bullock is in 8th in the number 22 car. He was pretty quick in practice as well. Sean Retallick in the number 10 is in 9th, and Tanner Nowell in the number 14 is rounding out your top 10. We know that Brian Rose is there. We know that Dalton Hayes is there in the 47 car. And then it's J.D. Woodward and Hank Caston both took a pit stop on lap 4. And the lights on the pace car should be going out here in a little bit. It looks like they're out, which means we're going to go back to racing the next time by, and the guys are lining them up double file to get ready. Let's see if Brian can challenge Colton this time. It looked like Colton was pulling away from him a little bit. Coming down the backstretch. And they're lining them up fairly nicely. They could close in on each other a little bit. It's up to the pole sitter or the first guy to set the race. There we go. Colton Cavett hits the gas. Looks like the 28's keeping up with him fairly good now. The 21 is right there behind him. The 28 on that high side loses a couple of car lengths to Colton. It looks like that outside is not really working. He brushes the wall. He gets passed by Kevin Woods here right away. Brian Edmonds closing in on him as well. Jacob Edwards also closing in on him. Colton Cavett still in the lead. Now has the 21 of Michael Edwards right behind him, and they're pulling away a little bit from the 26 of Kevin Woods. The 28 is hanging on there, and it looks like we have another caution. Let's see if we can find what's going on. It's J.D. That's unfortunate because JD was just in the pits. This is what's happening. I want to bring that back for you here. You see him going into the turn a little loose. That could be the brake bias setting too far back. He loses it, can't catch it, and then he lets it roll to the inside to the racing line and collects the 5. So basically we have JD Woodward and Hank Kasten once again at the back end of the field being victim to an incident. JD Woodward went into the pits on lap 4, as did Hank Kasten. I hope they didn't use their fast repairs, because that would be a bit of a waste. They're still rolling, and it looks they're going back into the pit here. That's their second stop, and they're not alone this time. It's Dalton Hayes in the 47 also taken to the pits. And I don't see any problem on his car, but it could be that he decides, hey, I'm in the back anyway, I might as well top off that tank, put some fresh rubber on there, and if we stay green quite long, then that would be an advantage to everybody that is not pitting. So when you're in the back of the field, a call like that can sometimes work to your favor. Not so much for these guys here up front. It's Colton Cavett still in the lead. The 21 of Michael Edwards behind him in second, and then it's Kevin Woods who picked up third position from Brian Edmonds. Brian is hanging on in fourth. It's Ken MacArthur in the 97 in fifth, and then it's Jacob Edwards in the 27 car in the sixth position. Lane Bullock in the 22 is in seventh position, and he picked up a few positions from the start. It looks like he gained 3 positions already. Steve Anderson still where he started. Brian Rose with that damaged car has looked to me like he picked up 2 positions in the few green laps that we had, because he was in 11th on the last restart. And it looks like Brian is now deciding to take a pit stop. He may have figured out that the car is just not running as good as it should be. The effect of the damage that he has will not be huge, but it will be there. If you have no streamline at the front like he has, and he does decide to stay out, but the lack of airflow, correct airflow on that nose will definitely give him a little bit of a push, meaning that the car wants to slide over the front wheels when he turns in. But he decides to stay out there, and it's Tanner Nowell in 10th behind him. JD Woodward is in 11th. Dalton came back out of the pits behind Woodward, and it looks like Hank is still in the pits with that number 5 car, and I'm not sure if he decided to top it off once again. It might be an idea, because you're in the back anyway. It looks like they're still working on the car, and he is rejoining the race. So let's go back here to the pace car. It looks like Colton is eager to get going. And the lights on the pace car are going out, and they're going to line them up once again. This time Colton has Michael Edwards right beside him in the 21, and then it's Kevin Woods and Brian Edmonds in the second row. And then it's Ken MacArthur and Jacob Edwards in the third row. And it looks like the outside line is not really picking up that pace, leaving a couple of holes in there. Pace car coming in, and we are racing. Colton Cavett on the gas early, kind of taking Michael Edwards by surprise, it looks like, because he's dropping back a couple of car lengths right away. Then it's the 28 of Brian on the outside. We've seen Brian have trouble on that outside before, and it looks like the 26 of Kevin Woods is trying hard to take advantage of that, coming underneath the 28 now, taking that position away from him when they cross the line. And then right behind there, it's Lane Bullock already working his way up to 5th position, and then it's Jacob Edwards in the 27 car. Let's check in here on our leaders. It looks like Colton Cavett is a couple of car lengths in front of Michael Edwards now. actually quite a bit of distance here already, and the 21 of Michael Edwards is hanging on to that second spot. And then there's also a little bit of a gap to the 26 of Kevin Woods. It's Brian Edmonds hanging on in fourth, and Lane Bullock closing in on him quickly in the 22 car. Then Ken MacArthur in the 97 seems to be catching up, and the 22 is now going underneath the 28 to take that fourth position away from Brian Edmonds. Lane Bullock picks up fourth position, and he's going after Kevin Woods now. And it looks like Colton Everett he's got Michael Edwards catching up with him here. And Michael Edwards has a little under 2 seconds on Kevin Woods in third. So and we have another caution. Let's see if we can find out what's going on. Oh, it looks like the 99 car of Steve Anderson is involved. Let's see if we can bring back what's going on. The 99, keep an eye on the 99 there. He's going to the inside. No, it's the 9 going to the inside, touching the 99 on the quarter panel, throwing him off balance. He almost saves it, noses it into the wall, lets it roll down the track onto the racing line, and once again, Brian Rose damaged by that. So Steve Anderson and Brian Rose now both with their front ends pretty beat up here. And let's see what they are doing as far as repairs are concerned. It looks like they're catching up to the field right now. And we'll have to wait and see if they are coming into the pits. It looks like Brian is still electing to stay out there. And the 99 of Steve Anderson, the same thing. He's staying out there, and it's Woodward back in the pits. I don't really believe he was heavily damaged, but he did give that 99 a little bit of a tap on the right rear. And let's see if we can see what's going on. He's just picking up tires, probably just topping off the fuel tank. Like I said, if you're in the back of the pack, you don't lose anything doing that because you're under yellow and you get to catch back up with them. But the good thing is when we have some longer stints of racing, you will have fresher tires and longer laps to run with fuel than the guys in the lead of the pack. So the lead of the pack, Colton Cavett, has not pitted at all just yet, and we're already in lap 22. So these guys are choosing track position over fresh tires, and for being this early in the race, I am kind of surprised by that, but I'm sure everybody has their own ways of thinking and their own reasons for doing stuff. So it's Colton Cavett still in the lead, Michael Edwards in second. We saw him closing in on Colton a little bit. Kevin Woods in third. He was clearly having a little bit of issues trying to keep up and match that speed of Edwards. Lane Bullock worked his way up to fourth, took it away from this man, Brian Edmonds, who's hanging on to fifth now. It's Kevin MacArthur in the 97 in sixth. Dalton Hayes, he is now in seventh. Jacob Edwards in eighth. Hank Kasten in ninth. Tanner Nowell in 10th. Brian Rose still out there in 11th. And then it's Steve Anderson, didn't pit. And J.D. Howard in the 13th position. And it looks like Sean Retelik has made a pit stop as well on lap 22. So he's doing the same thing as Woodward. They're just filling them up, giving them new tires, and hoping for a longer stint of green racing so they can stay out when everybody else is pitting. They'll pick that track position back up for sure. Let's go back up here to the front, and let's see if the lights are probably going out this time by. That's what it looks like, so they're going to line them up once again, and we're going to try this once more. Lap 25, we'll be going into lap 26 when we get the green flag of 180. once again, it does appear to me like outside line is... No, they're lined up a lot better now. It looks to me like Bullock is a little hesitant. They're lined up pretty good. So let's bring her up front here. Pace car's in, and Colton hits the gas immediately. Michael Edwards, and it's Lane Bullock on the outside of the 26, trying to go for third position. The 26 dives in there deep and washes up and taps the 22, and around he goes. And before we have a full lap of racing, we are back yellow once again. Let's bring that back for you. The 22 on the high side, the 26 wants to defend on the low side, dives in too deep, washes up, barely touches that 22, but it's enough to throw him around. And luckily everybody else misses him, but it drops him to the end of the line. I think he got away with from that pretty unscathed, but it basically puts him in the back and he gets to start all over again. So to me, that was definitely the 26 just going in a little bit too deep, and he couldn't hold it down, and unfortunately just barely touched Lane Bullock, and that was all she wrote. Once again, we see Woodward doing the same thing, and this time Bullock does it as well. He goes in for fresh tires and for fuel, and since he's in the back, he's just hoping on a longer stint. But as we all know, yellows breed yellows, and we've had a few of them already. We're only on lap 28, so hopefully their choice is the right one. It doesn't lose them anything. It doesn't matter if we have quicker yellows, because they can actually skip a pit stop when the others pit and pick up that track position once again. So with 28 laps down, Colton Cavett is still staying out there, and so far Dalton Hayes in 5th position is the first driver that actually pitted, and he did so on lap 11. So he's not doing bad at all after that early pit stop. Michael Edwards in 2nd, Brian Edmonds is in 3rd, it's Ken MacArthur, and then Dalton Hayes, Jacob Edwards in 6th position, it's Hank Kasten in the 7th position. He has already been in the pits 3 times. Brian Rose not been in the pits yet, despite the damage on the front end of his car. And when you look at his left front wheel, you can see very clearly here how much camber these guys are running to try and get that car to turn in. And then Tanner Nowell has not been in the pits. Sean Ritalik has been in the pits twice. And then it's Steve Anderson and J.D. Woodward and Lane Bullock. We've seen those guys go in the pit. Kevin Woods, looks like Kevin Woods is out of the race with the 26 car, and I'm not sure why that is, because I don't believe that he had that much damage of that incident. I wonder if he got a black flag or something like that, which would very highly surprise me. That is odd. That is definitely odd. Kevin Woods out of the race in the number 26 car. And I cannot see the penalty system or the penalties that are issued. So I'm guessing here, but I see no reason for him to be out of the race as far as the car was concerned. He did not have that much damage. They're lining them back up. The lights on the pace car are out. We're going to go into lap 32 when we go racing. Colton Cavett is still in front. Michael Edwards in the 21 car in 2nd. It's Brian Edmonds and Ken MacArthur behind them. Lane Bullock in the back of the pack there, all by himself. He's got some work to do. Pace car will be coming in, and we know that Colton can go quick, and this time he waits a little bit, and it throws the 28 off a little bit. You got to be on your ball, on your game here. The 21 stays high in 2nd. It's Brian Edmonds in the 28 on the lower side now. Dalton Hayes picks up 4th position here right away. And then it's the 97 of MacArthur trying to go to the inside. Cannot get it done. The 21 is in second, and he's already lost, 4 or 5 car lengths maybe on Colton Cavett. Brian Edmonds hanging on to third position, and he clearly has Dalton Hayes to worry about now. It looks like Dalton is inching towards him in those turns. Let's stay with this fight here. The 97 of MacArthur right there with him. And the 97 comes underneath the 13. No, I'm sorry. That was he was already behind there. He's losing a little bit of ground, it looks like, that 97. And then it's the 5 of Caston behind there in 6th. Brian Edmonds hanging on to that 3rd spot, but it's Dalton Hayes now challenging him on the lower side. And we know the 28 has a little bit of trouble keeping it going on that higher side. So the 47 of Dalton Hayes is challenging him here on the backstretch into 3 and 4. Not close enough to make anything happen. And something has happened to MacArthur. MacArthur has washed up on the high side and lost about 3 or 4 positions here to Caston, to Retallick, and to Bullock. Bullock already back up in 7th position. That is pretty good stuff. Ooh, and back there it's the 27 of Jacob Edwards getting himself in trouble there. He almost touches that 9. Let's bring that back real quick. Coming off the turn here. Watch this number 27 car. He gets off the turn, and it looks like he gets loose, hitting the gas, gets a little tap in the back from the 9. And the 9 takes that position away from him. That's 9th and 10th position. Then the 9 run washes up high, but he does have the momentum to keep it in front of the 27. Good stuff. And meanwhile, it looks like Sean Retallick and Lane Bullock are on a mission here. They are passing the 28 and the 10. It looks like the 5 is now going to pick up the 2nd position from the 3rd position from Caston. Caston also being overrun by Sean Retallick. And it's Lane Bullock on the lower side coming right along with him. So we have Michael Edwards now in the lead. And we didn't see him pass Colton Cavett, but he sure did. It's Michael Edwards in the lead in 1st position in the 21 car. And unfortunately, we have another yellow. It's the 4 of Colton Cavett in 2nd position, and Hank Caston in 3rd, Retallick in 4th, and Bullock in 5th. Let's see if we can find the incident. Oops, there it was. It's the 14 and the 27. And let's see if we can bring that back a little bit further. Here they are. The 14 washes high, the 27 goes underneath. And it looks like the 27 just goes to that high line without being clear, collects the number 14 car, and that was all she wrote. All right, behind the pace car once again. We missed the pass of Michael Edwards for the lead, but he sure did it. And that tells me that Colton Cavett may have had an incident brushing the wall or something like that. See if we can find that. Nope, that's too far back. Can't figure that one out. So let's go through the order here on lap 41. Michael Edwards in the lead. Colton Cavett in 2nd. Hank Caston worked his way up to 3rd position from way back in the field. Same things for Sean Retallick. He worked his way back up to the 4th position in the number 10 car. And Lane Bullock is following those guys, and he is now currently in 5th, coming from the back of the pack after that earlier incident. It's Ken MacArthur in the 97 car in 6th. Steve Anderson in the 99 is in 7th. Brian Rose is hanging in there in 8th position, picked up a couple of spots with all the incidents. Woodward is now in 9th. And Dalton Hayes in 10th. Brian Edmonds in the 28 car has dropped back to the 11th position because they went into the pits. All the guys here from 4th position on down, they all went into the pits. And the only ones that didn't are the two leaders, Michael Edwards and Colton Cavett. And that is kind of surprising. With 43 laps in, you would think that they could use a fresh set of rubber, and you would think that they could use some fuel, but they're choosing track position over fresh rubber. So I'm sure they have their reasons. But it means, and Hank Kasten actually also didn't pit this last yellow here. His last pit stop was in lap 13. So the top 3 drivers, Edwards, Cavett, and Kasten, are on the oldest rubber, and they have the least amount of fuel in the tank. And everybody from 4th on down has been in the pits this caution period. So that's Retallick, that's Bullock, that's MacArthur, that's Anderson. Rose, as you can see, has taken that fast repair. That car looks beautiful now. He is back in good shape. So he is in 8th position, and he might be able to get something going. They're lining him up behind the pace car. They're on the back stretch now. Cars in the back catching up. That is Woodward and Jacob Edwards. Tanner Nowell still in the pits. And we're racing. Michael Edwards hit the gas, and it looks like Colton Cavett is staying with him there. Very good. The 5 and the 10 hanging with him as well. Oh, that is so unnecessary. It's Colton Cavett bumping into the rear of the 21. Let's bring that back for you really quickly here. A little bit further on the restart into turn 1. Watch the second car on the line there. The 21 turning into turn 1. The 4 being a little bit too deep there, touching the 21, and the 21 drops to 3rd position. Back live. What have we got? Lane Bullock have picked up the lead. Let's see if we can find that pass. Because as we were going back live, it's Bullock on the inside, passing 3 cars. We're 3 wide there for just a bit. And Bullock picks up the lead. The 10 is coming with him. And that means Lane Bullock in the lead with Sean Retallick in the 2nd. Hank Kasten in 3rd. Steve Anderson in 4th. Colton Cavett now in 5th. Ken MacArthur in 6th. And Michael Edwards dropped to 7th position. So let's keep an eye here on the leaders. Lane Bullock in the 22 and Sean Retallick in the 10. It looks like Hank Kasten is having a little bit of trouble keeping up. Steve Anderson dropping back a little bit from Kasten. And then it's Cavett and MacArthur, and it looks like MacArthur picks up that spot from Cavett. He picks up 5th position, but Cavett's not quite done with him yet. He's defending there on the high side. Can he keep that momentum going? He noses ahead, but it's the 97 on the backstretch pulling in front of him. Still side by side towards turn 3, and now the 97 has got him definitely. Colton Cavett tugs there behind into the 97, back in line. Let's check on Bullock here. Bullock has got about 6/10 of a second on the number 10. And then it's Hank Kasten, Steve Anderson, and Ken MacArthur pulling away from Cavett now. Those older tires might be hurting them more than they want to. Michael Edwards has the same problem, and he's running the same pace as Colton Cavett, trying to catch back up with Cavett, and I'm sure they're not being too friendly right now because Edwards dropped back quite a bit after that tap in the back from Colton. So the guys on fresher tires are definitely looking a lot stronger here at lap 51 at Richmond Raceway. Retallick, he is now about 6/10 of a second behind Bullock. Hank Kasten is about 8/10 of a second behind Retallick, and then it's Steve Anderson with a similar gap. Ken MacArthur with a similar gap. Colton a little bit more than a second behind. And 21 has dropped back again. J.D. Woodward has passed him here in the 9 car. Brian Rose dropped 1 spot to the 9th position. He is trying to catch up with the 21 now. On that high side, cannot keep that momentum going there. The high side does not seem to be working. And hopefully further in the race, that high side gets rubbered in a little bit better, so the drivers can try something there. But right now it looks like the lower line is the line to be in. Sean Ritalik in 2nd position, and he's losing slowly, not very fast, but he's losing slowly on Bullock a little bit. Hank Caston, same thing. He's losing a little bit on Ritalik. And Anderson also losing a little bit on Caston. Then it's Ken MacArthur in 5th, J.D. Woodward now in 6th. It looks to me like Woodward, he's got quite a bit of damage on that front end. Not sure where he picked that up. Colton Cavett is in the 7th spot. He has Michael Edwards right behind him once again. For 7th and 8th, it's Dalton Hayes now in 9th, trying to hold off Brian Rose that he just passed. Brian Edwards coming back at Brian Rose as well. Not quite close enough. It's Jacob Edwards in the 27 still running, and it's Tanner is in the pit, and I believe he's been there for a bit. So it looks like those guys are out. The leaders are now starting to pass the back markers there. That's the 27 of Jacob Edwards that Bullock has just passed. And Ritalik will be doing the exact same thing here, or already has done so. Now it's Caston that's passed him, and Steve Anderson will be the next up. So the field's stretching out now a little bit. As you can tell from the wider shots here, that's the distance, and we have another caution. Let's see if we can pick up what's going on. It looks like somebody's locking up the brakes in the escape route here. That's Dalton Hayes. Let's bring that back once again and see why that is happening. He's behind a 21 coming on the backstretch. He's diving to the inside. He wants to go low. He knows he's in too deep. He locks up the front brakes and slides straight forward into the wall. Well, that gives me a chance to catch my breath. It's Lane Bullock in the 1st position. Let's see if it's time for them to come into the pits. He is making everybody believe that he's going to pit, and he is. And that means that everybody is following him. It looks like MacArthur is staying out in the 97, and Brian Rose is staying out in the 24. So that means that Ken MacArthur is picking up that lead. Let's check on the guys in the pits. Lane Bullock in the pits here. Can we find him? There he is. He's been serviced. He's checking out. Looks like he'll pick up 3rd position. And Ritalik in 4th, so that order is the same. Then Caston and Cavett looks like he picks up a few spots. Woodward still being served. He's coming out now. He did not have another fast repair, so he's going to have to deal with that front end for the rest of the race. Michael Edwards looks like he didn't have a fast repair anymore. The back end of that car is somewhat damaged. That shouldn't hurt him that much. Steve Anderson coming out of the pits. Dalton Hayes. Oh, what's going on with Dalton here? Did he have a speeding penalty or something? It looks like he hesitated coming off pit road. Maybe he was not in the right gear. And then it's Jacob Edwards. he stayed out. So, on the front end here, it's MacArthur picking up the lead. And then it's Brian. It looks like Brian Rose has changed his mind and is going to pit anyway. There he comes. Oh, and he doesn't get it parked in the right spot there. You may not see the mechanics, but they're kind of picky about where you put that car. So Brian Rose in the pit. He's going to go back to the end of the pack. There he comes. He's heading out. We have Ken MacArthur in the 97 in the lead now from Lane Bullock. And Sean Ritalik in third. Hank Caston in fourth. Colton Cavett in fifth. J.D. Woodworth in sixth. It's Michael Edwards in the 7th spot. Brian Edmonds hanging on to that 8th spot now. He's also pitted. Everybody's pitted except for Ken MacArthur. He is on rubber that's 20 laps old, and his tank is not quite full. So let's see if Ken MacArthur, who is opting for track position here, if he can hold off Lane Bullock and Sean Ritalik. They're on fresh rubber, and we know they do well on fresh rubber. It looks like we're getting ready to go. There he goes, Ken MacArthur. Ooh, Ken MacArthur is being surprised there a little bit by the 22 of Lane Bullock, who pulls away quite a bit from him already. And then the 97 closes back in turn one. It's the 10 of Ritalik taking third position in front of Hank Caston in fourth. Let's check up with your leader here, Lane Bullock. Looks like he's well in control right now. And let's see what happened now. Ooh, it's the number 10 getting in trouble here. That's Sean Ritalik. Let's see if we can bring back what happened. They're on the backstretch, coming towards turn 3 and 4. He's diving underneath the 5, and he gets a little bit of a tap in the back from the 4. And that's Colton Cavett, and that turns him around, and the 28 has nowhere to go, runs into it. All right, let's see who is taking on pit road here. It looks like Brian, I'm guessing he still has that fast repair, and he might as well take it. He's coming in, and so is Michael Edwards into 21. Not sure if he was involved, but doesn't look like Michael's got more damage than he already had. But Brian definitely wants that car repaired. Let's see if he still has that fast repair to fix up that front end there. There he is in his pit stall. Oops, and not quite right as well. No, it doesn't look like he still has that fast repair. He's going to have to run this car as is. Tires and fuel. And he's taking repairs. He does not have a fast repair anymore. So, Lane Bullock in the lead. Ken MacArthur in that second spot. Colton Cavett now back in third. Caston in fourth. Woodward brought it back all the way up to fifth. And as you can tell, the damage on a track like this is not going to be hurting him all that much. It might give him a little bit more push than they had before, but it's drivable, definitely. Let's see if Woodward is... I don't think he'll be going into the pit because he doesn't have a fast repair anymore either. It's Steve Anderson behind him in sixth. It's Brian Rose. That car still looks in pretty good shape after his fast repair. Then it's Brian Edmonds, and he's now catching up to the back end of the pack in eighth. It looks like Ritalik has taken a pit stop. He is still somewhat damaged on the back end. Michael Edwards and Jacob Edwards both been in the pits, as has Dalton Hayes. So they'll be lining them up in the back there. And coming down the back stretch, it looks like Woodward is sometimes they like to play with the guys behind them and pretend they're going into pits and then they don't. Obviously, if you can throw your opponent off a little bit making such decisions, and if it helps, why not? Looks like the lights on the pace car are out now, and that means we're going to line them back up for you. And when the green flag flies, we'll be going into lap 71 of 180. We are not quite halfway just yet. Lane Bullock in the lead on the inside line. He gets to go whenever he wants as soon as the pace car is off the track. He gives it a few moments. There he goes. And it catches the 5 off guard just a notch. And it looks like the 97 got in trouble. Where is he? Ken MacArthur, yes indeed, he got in trouble on the restart. Let's bring that back for you. This is the restart. Look at the 97 up top of your screen there. He just hits the gas too hard, spins the rear tires, noses it into the wall, and luckily everybody gets to avoid him. But he is going to have to retry from the back end of the field, and we did not even drive a half a lap this time. Under yellow once again. Lane Bullock in the lead. Hank Caston now in second in the 05 or the 5. The J.D. Howard picks up third position. Colton Cavett in fourth. It looked to me like Colton was slowing down a bit to not run into the 97. Steve Anderson is in fifth now. It's the 10 of Ritalik in sixth. Brian Rose in seventh. And it looks like he's been able to stay out of trouble fairly well. Brian Edmonds is in 8th. It's Michael Edwards in 9th. Ken MacArthur in 10th. Dalton Hayes in 11th. And the final running car looks to me is Jacob Edwards. Is Blake Powers still running? Yes, he is actually. And he must have started from the pits when we weren't watching, because he's here. I don't believe we have any takers on pit road. And it looks like Dalton Hayes is getting a wave around here. Or the lucky dog, I should say. Woodward here with the damaged front end. Colton Cavett. Steve Anderson has kind of quietly been hanging on to what he had. It looked to me like he's doing pretty good. He's all right. He's pretty solid. Sean Ritalik in the number 10. Also had his fair share of trouble so far. Brian Rose, since he got that car reset, he looks to me like he's doing okay there in 7th spot. Michael Edwards in the 21. And it looks like we have Brian Edmonds coming into the pit once again, and Dalton Hayes is coming into the pits as well. Not sure if he's taking tires. It doesn't look like it. Brian's taking tires. Dalton Hayes Coming back out, it looks like he just had some fuel added. Maybe a few smaller repairs. And it looks like the guys are lining them back up once again. Hopefully, the guys that pitted can catch up with him still. You'll see them coming up in the background there on the backstretch. Yeah, there they come. That's Dalton in that blue car coming back up. I can't see the 28 just yet. Yeah, he's coming. And there we go. The 22 hits the gas. We're green once again. Lane Bullock picks up the lead here, and it's Hank Kasten in the second spot. J.D. Woodworth in third. And J.D. is now diving to the inside of the 5, and he's bringing the 4 along with him. That's Colton Cavett. So it's Bullock, Woodward, Cavett passing Hank Kasten. He's now in fourth. And the number 9 of Woodward is holding off Cavett for the second position and hanging with Bullock pretty good. It looks like the 4 of Colton Cavett might be trying something with the 9 here soon enough. They're walking away from Kasten here a little bit, and Steve Anderson is now right behind Hank Kasten. Let's stay here with Woodward. It looks like Colton is losing a little bit of ground now on Woodward. And Hank Kasten obviously having a little trouble. Oh, and it looks like Henderson has tapped the wall there. Got off balance, and he's going to have to let the 10 and the 21 go by. That's Ritalik and Edwards that are taking that position away from him. He's now in 7th, and something must have happened to Brian Rose because he's now shown in 11th. Not sure what it was. And now it's Woodward challenging Bullock for the lead here. He's right on that bumper. He doesn't have one himself, but he's right there on the 22, challenging for the lead now. We're talking lap 81. Can Colton Cavett catch back up with him? Woodward in second position, challenging Lane Bullock. It looks like Bullock is fairly in control right now. Can't shake him completely, but he's got a couple of car lengths now. About 3/10 of a second. Let's bring in and see how that battle for the first place is going. Bullock, 3/10 of a second ahead of Woodward. And then it's Cavett in third. Dropping back a little bit. About 7/10 of a second now. And Hank Kasten still in fourth, further back. Let's stay here with the leaders, Bullock and Woodward. This is what it looks like from JD's car here. And you can tell by the motion of his hands that he's doing all right as far as the handling of his car is concerned. A little bit loose on the exit, but on the turn in, he looks very solid here. Not too much hand movement. And he coming off of 1 here, or 2, he's doing pretty good as well. So that looks pretty good. He's hanging with Bullock. And it looks like Hank Kasten is dropping back a little bit. Colton Cavett trying to hang with Kasten. Then it's Ritalik coming back up in the 10 car. He's got a little bit of distance on the 21 of Edwards. Then it's Anderson who scraped the wall. We saw that earlier. It's Ken MacArthur trying to catch up with him. Dalton Hayes in 9th. Brian Rose now in 10th. So he picked up another spot from Brian Edmonds. And it looks like Blake Powers is still running in 13th position. The number 9 of J.D. Woodworth in pursuit of Lane Bullock in the lead. That might be that front end, missing that front end is hurting him a little bit compared to Lane Bullock. It's hard to tell. The 5 looking to go low here. Not close enough to make anything happen. It's Woodworth still in second. Lane Bullock in first. there you have the three leaders, fairly close together. And then in fourth position, it is Colton Cavett, and he's got Sean Retallick right behind him. Looks like the 9 of JD is dropping a bit towards the 5 of Caston now. And then he inches back towards Bullock again. Ooh, he's getting a little closer now. Can he do anything? I don't think he's close enough yet. He's just not giving up, and so is the 5. They're not giving up at all. They're racing hard for that position here. Lap 90. We're halfway into the race. When we finish this lap, it'll be exactly halfway. The 22 and the 9. The 5 is having a little trouble to hang on here. Further back, it's Hank Gaston in the background of your screen. You just saw him nosing in there. This battle is not over yet. So mid-race, it's Lane Bullock in the lead in front of J.D. Howard and Hank Gaston. Let's go check on the number 10 here. He's picked up fourth position, and he's dealing with Colton Cavett and Michael Edwards a little bit further back. Let's go back up here, because this looks like it's closing in. Hank Gaston's closing in on the 9 now. Can he do anything to pick up that second spot? The 9 inching towards the 22. On the backstretch. And it seems like they're making life not that hard for each other. They're trying to work together and get some distance on the rest of the guys. When you're battling somebody, you are always slower. Both cars are always slower when you're battling. We have a yellow, and it looks like Tanner Nowell in the 14 car is the one that was involved here. Let's see what's happening. He's coming on to the backstretch. He loses the back end. Oh, he almost saves it. He keeps it out of the wall, jumps on the brakes so not to go back to the outside wall. That's pretty good. That's smart. Good job for the 14 here. That's Tanner Nowell. Drops back to 14th position, but at least he's still got a good car. Lap 94. I'm guessing we're going to see some guys coming in. It looks like the 9 is definitely coming in. Yes, the 22 as well. Hank Caston, Sean Retallick, Colton Cavett, they're all coming in. Michael Edwards seems to stay out. Ken MacArthur coming in. Steve Anderson, Dalton Hayes, Brian Rose, Brian Edmonds, Jacob Edwards. They're all coming in. Blake Powers is staying out, and it looks like Michael Edwards is staying out, and he's picking up the lead right now. It looks like Blake gets the wave around. Blake is showing quite a bit down from the leaders, but he's hanging on. He just wants to score some points, and you can't blame him. That's the name of the game. So Michael Edwards in the 21 car picks up the lead. So in front of him, that would be the 14 of Blake Powers. He is being shown 2 laps down, I believe. Yes, indeed, he's 2 laps down. So he'll get the wave around before we get the green flag for sure. And I will say I like how he saved that car. He lost the back end coming off of turn 2. Saved it from going to the inside wall, and then locked up the brakes to prevent himself to slide back out when he overcorrected. He kept it clean. He's still got a good car. He might have some ground to make up, but he's got the car to do it. So the guys coming off the pit. Lane Bullock is coming back out in second. It's Woodward right behind him, so that didn't change. It's Caston in third, into 5, or in 4th now. But he's in the same order, and then it's Retallick. It looks like Cavett is also still in the same position, and it's Dalton Hayes' car, the 47, in 11th, so he's a lap down from these guys. And then we have Ken MacArthur in 7th spot now. Brian Rose in 8th. Steve Anderson in 9th. And Brian Edmonds in the 10th spot. And it looks like Brian is the final car on the lead lap. The lapped cars are dropped to the back end. Michael Edwards trying to keep some heat in those tires. And those tires are about 22 laps old. So it's up to Lane Bullock to show what he can do on fresh tires. And we know from previously that he's pretty good on that fresh tire. And I hope Michael made the right decision. But we still have a long ways to go. And it looks like we're going to be lining them up again. 21 in the lead. Lane Bullock is going to come alongside. Then in third on the inside, it's Woodward. And on the outside, it'll be Hank Kasten. And don't count out the number 10 of Ritalik on that inside line there behind the number 9. Base cars in. And there we go. Michael Edwards picks up the pace. He keeps the lead for now. It's Lane Bullock right beside him. On the higher side, it's Woodworth on the lower side. Can he get in underneath the 22? Yes, he can. That higher side is still not working. It's not rubbered in good enough. It makes Bullock drop down to 4th position, being passed by the number 10 and now by the 97 of Ken MacArthur. Hank Kasten losing out on Ken MacArthur as well, and he's got Lane Bullock in 7th place behind him now. That outside line is just not working. It's Edwards still in the lead, being challenged by Woodward now. And it looks like the number 9 is going to pick up the lead here on fresher tires. Regardless of the damage, he picks up the lead here. Michael Edwards now in 2nd, and it's Sean Ritalik going underneath the 21 for 2nd spot. He picks that one up. Michael Edwards washes up too high, can't defend. Colton Cavett now, can he go by? No, not quite. Yeah, he noses it underneath there. The 21 just washes up on those older tires, and there is no grip on the high side, it looks like. So Edwards trying to defend, but it looks like Colton Cavett will have it here on the inside coming down the backstretch. It's clearly Cavett in front of the 21 now. Woodward has picked up the lead, and he pulls away from the 10 a little bit, but the 10 is looks like he's got good pace. Colton Cavett still fighting for that 3rd spot. I'm sorry, that's behind him. That's Hank Kasten for that 4th spot. It's Colton fairly safe in 3rd. It's Hank Kasten behind him. And then it's Michael Edwards dealing with the 97, and Bullock now in 7th spot. And that's just mainly due to the fact that he got caught out on the start on the high side, and that high side is just not working yet. Now it's the 21 washing up again. He's having trouble keeping that car low. It's the 97 and the 22, both of them going underneath now. Picking up that 5th position MacArthur here, and 6th for Bullock. And meanwhile, still Woodward in front, and it's Ritalik in 2nd, Cavett in 3rd, Kasten in 4th, MacArthur now in 5th, being challenged by Bullock, and Bullock picks up that 5th position for MacArthur. Once again, that lower line just seems to work a lot better than that higher line. And now it's Cavett. He's past Hank Kasten. It looks like Hank has made a mistake. Let's see if we can find out what's going on. The number 5 car on the high side. And let's see if he loses it here. It kind of looks like it. Oh, he gets pushed into the wall. And that costs him quite a bit of time. Let's bring her back live for you now. Lane Bullock has picked up 4th position because of that. Ken MacArthur picked up 5th, and Kasten is now in 6th, trying to fight back. Michael Edwards dropped back to 7th. Woodward is still hanging on to that lead here, and it's Retallick who's trying to close in on him. It's not going quickly, but he's inching ahead. He's inching closer by to JD there. Colton Cavett in 3rd. Ooh, what a drift. Holy Moses, that was a beautiful, beautiful. I want to see that again. It looks like he's a little bit loose. Look at that. Ooh, saves it. Beautiful. And it looks like Lane Bullock has picked up that 3rd spot because of that. It may look spectacular, but it's never faster. You want to keep those wheels rolling, not sliding. So Lane Bullock now in 3rd position, and he's going to obviously try to get closer to Woodward and Retallick. Cavett now in 4th, Caston in 5th. Caston has some time to make up here. Can he do it? Can he challenge the 4? Sure is trying. Going underneath. Can he get in there? No, not quite. Ooh. Once again, Cavett seems to be sliding a little bit with that back end, but he saves it. And then off the turn, it looks like Caston picks up a little bit from him. Now he gets that nose under there. Can he get underneath on the main straight? It looks like Cavett comes off of that turn good. Still side by side in turn 1 and 2, and now it's the 5 getting ahead of him. Like I said, that higher side is not working good enough. It looks like it's getting a little better, but it's just not good enough. It's the 21 of Michaels and the 97 for 6th and 7th here further back. Let's see how Lane Bullock's progress is going. I don't believe he's gaining on Retallick quickly, but slowly but surely he's gaining a little bit. Caston in 4th, Cavett in 5th, Edwards in 6th, and MacArthur, Anderson, and Rose right there with each other. That's 7th, 8th, and 9th position. And Brian Edmonds a little bit further back on his own in a damaged car here. Now it looks like that's Dalton Hayes. He's coming underneath the 97, picking up a lap back. And it's Steve Anderson on the high side being challenged by Ken MacArthur. He's taken that 7th spot away from him. And Brian Rose coming with him underneath that 99. The 24 now running a little bit high, but he picks up 8th position. It looks like the 99 is in trouble. It's Woodward. No, I'm sorry. That was Brian Edmonds also dealing with Steve Anderson in the 99. It looks like the 99 has got some trouble because the 32 of Blake Powers is also coming underneath here. Tires are probably wore out. When did he last pit? Oh my gosh, it's Brian Rose going around. Are we going yellow? No. Yes. Oh, whoa, watch out. They can't hear me, but I wish they could. That was Brian Rose going around. Let's see what happens. A little bit further back. Coming into the turn. He's low. He looks okay here. He comes off the turn. He taps the wall. Brushes to the inside. Trying to save it. Nope. Nose into the wall there. And then we can see the leaders. It wasn't yellow yet, but now Brian brings it down onto the lower line, and that brings out the yellow. And I would think that the 24 would be going into pits anytime soon. Let's see. Back up live. It's Woodward still in front, and it looks like they're heading into the pits there. The first 3, 4, 5, 6 cars. MacArthur in. Edmonds and Anderson in. And Brian is probably rolling another lap. Not sure if he will come in. He pitted last on 94. So let's keep an eye here on Woodward coming out. He should be back in front of the other guys that pitted. And it looks like he is. He is maintaining his lead in front of the number 10 car. Sean Retallick. And it looks like Dalton Hayes stayed out and picks up third position. His car still looks pretty good. A little bit of damage on the rear end. That's not going to hurt him. No, he's going in now. That's because he was a lap down. I'm sorry, he can't pit on the same lap as those guys. So it's Hank Caston coming out in third. Then it's Lane Bullock coming out in fourth. So Bullock lost the spot there, and Caston picks one up. It's Kevin in the fifth and Michael Edwards in sixth. There you have your leader, J.D. Woodward, in the number 9 car, leading from Sean Retallick in the number 10 car. Lap 120 of 180. So we're about 2/3 into this race here. That's the 27 in front of him. He'll get a wave around before we go green. That's Jacob Edwards. And I think the 32 of Blake Powers was also in front of there. Not really sure. Yes, he is. And then also, let me see, that is Tanner Nowell. He is still running. So the only one out currently is Kevin Woods. Brian Rose now coming into the pits. He doesn't have a fast repair anymore, so he's going to have to run the car as it is. And it does look like they're trying to fix it. He's taken quite some time, and I don't see any movement on tire changes, so it looks like he's getting that car fixed as best as they can do. The lights on the pace car are now out, so the number 9 of Woodward is going to be on the inside. Retallick on the outside in the 10. Then it's Caston and Bullock in the second row. Cavett and Edwards in the third. Strong performance so far from Woodward. Brian Rose is still in the pits as we get going. Once again, it's J.D. Woodward picking up the pace with the 10 on the high side and the 5 right behind him there. It's Bullock on the outside as well in the 22 car. Let's stay here with the leaders. The 10 slots in. They're going single file. I think they figured out that high side on the starts is just not working. We got some trouble back here in the back of the pack. Dalton Hayes, and it looked like caution coming back out. Let's find out what's going on. The number 4 car gets in trouble. Let's bring her back here. That's the number 4 losing it on entry already, trying to stay away from the rear end of the 22. Can't hold it together, but luckily keeps it off the wall. And that is Colton Cavett. Unfortunate for Colton. Can he turn her back around? Yes, indeed. There he goes, running once again. And that brings us behind the pace car once again. Looks like we have takers on pit road. Brian Edmonds, Michael Edwards, Dalton Hayes, Jacob Edwards, and Brian Rose are all coming down pit road. Let me correct myself here. Brian Rose is still on pit road, and I'm not sure if he's going to get that car fixed up and bring her back out on track. So Brian Edmonds here in the first pit stall. Jacob Edwards in the second pit stall. Dalton Hayes a little bit further back here. It doesn't look too bad on that car. He's taking tires and fuel. And then Michael Edwards, that car doesn't look in too bad shape. And I'm not sure about this one here. Maybe Brian has decided to call it a night. We'll have to wait and see. They can do fairly lengthy repairs. It's just, you know, do you want to wait that long, and does it help you any in your endeavor. You can always keep going and score some points, especially when you're this early in the championship. You never know when those points are needed later on. J.D. Woodward in the lead, the 10 of Retallick behind him. Then it's Caston, Bullock, MacArthur, Anderson, and Cavett. So behind Cavett, Edwards, Jacob, and Edwards Michael, they both have fresher tires and a little bit more fuel on board. They pitted. Looks like we're bringing them around one more time. Blake Powers in the 32 in 13th position, shown behind the leaders, 21 laps behind the leaders, soldiering on. He wants to score some points, and I don't blame him. You're here to race. You're not here to sit. And then it's Tanner Nowell in the 14 car, running in 14th position, and he is 6 laps behind Blake Powers. But just the same, he keeps on going. And I always think, you got to respect people that keep on going despite being in trouble, despite adversity. You're here to race. Lights on the pace car are out now. They're lining them back up. It's the number 9 in the first position. Coming down the backstretch here. JD is easy to recognize now. The 22 not quite alongside the 5 yet. Here we go. It's JD hitting the gas. He's got the 10 up high. Can he keep the lead here? It looks like he's diving into turn 1 first. The guys are slotting in single file. That's Caston and Bullock slotting in single file. Then it's MacArthur, and he's got Anderson to worry about, and Edwards in the 27. And it looks like Colton Cavett has brought it past that 27 car, and now underneath the 99. And he picks up 6th position behind MacArthur. Up in front, it's still Woodworth and Retallick, and they're fairly close together here for the lead. J.D. Woodworth in the 9. Looks like he's got it under control. Can't quite bring it down all the way. It's Hank Caston in 3rd, with Lane Bullock in 4th. Ken MacArthur and Colton Cavett are fighting here for 5th and 6th, and it looks like Colton's picking up that position here on the higher side. Can he bring it down in front of the 97? No, he cannot. The 97 on the lower side. Let's see who comes off the turn the best. It's still Colton shown in front. And it looks like the 21 was trying to come alongside there with him. On that higher side, it looks like that higher side is starting to work a little bit better. And that's Dalton Hayes now on the high side of the 97. Oops, little connection issue. Looks like Ken MacArthur can keep it in front of Dalton Hayes. Nope, Dalton Hayes now to the inside. Oh, washes up, and then the 99 runs into the 97. And they save it. That's good work from Ken MacArthur there. But it loses him a lot of ground, and that's unfortunate. It's the 32 now on his high side, and it's Jacob Edwards closing in on him for that 10 spot. Let's check on Woodward here in the front, still fighting with the number 10 of Retallick. It looks like there's 2 car lengths between them. That means that Sean is not quite close enough to do anything. but the 9 cannot afford to make any mistakes. It looked like there's a little bit more distance to Hank Caston now. Lane Bullock is hanging with Hank there, very good. Then it's Colton Cavett and Michael Edwards for 5th and 6th. Dalton Hayes picks up 7th position from Steve Anderson in the 99. Brian Edmonds in the number 9, still running. And then it's Ken MacArthur that dropped back because he got touched by Steve Anderson just slightly. Jake Edwards in 11th. And it looks like Brian has not left the pits. So let's bring her back up here to Woodward. The 10 is not really closing in on him. The distance stays about the same. It's Caston and Bullock for 3rd. I would think that Bullock looks a little bit stronger at this point, but they're both not doing bad. The 22 not yet close enough to do anything. And further up front, it looks like Woodward is picking up a little bit more distance compared to the 10. And it's Hank Caston in 3rd. You might even start to think that Hank Caston is gaining a little bit on the number 2 position of Retallick. And Lane Bullock is hanging with him here. Are they working together? It kind of looks like it. Trying to close that gap without fighting each other, it might be a good idea. And once they all bunch up, then they can start duking it out. It looks like that lower side is still working the best, but that higher side seems to be rubbering in a little bit now. Woodward still in front, Retallick still 2nd, doesn't change here. And I'm not sure if Hank is catching up, it's just about under a 2nd. We can keep an eye on that for you a little bit. 0.8 of a second. It looks like he's closing in slightly. Does the number 10 have a problem? Are the tires getting old? That would be the same for Caston. They pitted on the same lap, on lap 118. Yeah, it looks to me like Caston and Bullock are kind of leaving each other alone to just first catch up with the number 10 of Sean Retallick. And further back we have Colton Cavett and Dalton Hayes, 5th and 6th position. Then it's Steve Anderson, Brian Edmonds, and he's got the 32 of Blake Powers going underneath him now. That's not for position. Blake Powers is in 13th. He's 5 laps behind the 28. Woodward still in front. Looks like he's in control fairly good now. Retallick in 2nd. And definitely Casting is gaining on him now. It's 0.3 of a second. Passing the back markers. That's the 14 there up high, leaving them room to race. That's Tanner Nowell. Good job. Caston in 3rd now, challenging Retallick for 2nd. Let's keep an eye on these guys here. Where is Lane Bullock? Did he make a mistake? Let's see if we can find it. Yes, indeed. Let's a little bit further back. He's still behind the 5 here. Comes on to the back stretch. Loses the back end. He keeps it off the wall. Only just. Good job. So Caston now chasing Retallick. And he's going underneath him now. Picking up that 2nd spot. Can Sean do anything back? And he tugs in right behind him. That higher line is still not working that great. It's not as bad as it was early in the race, but it's not great. So, let's see. Ooh, the 10 gets in trouble here. Let's see what happens. We're not going yellow yet. Let's see what happens to the 10. Yep, he loses it on the braking. He's got that brake bias too far to the back, it seems. And he slams it into the inside wall, damages the left front. Or the left side, I should say, but he's still in 3rd. You saw a back marker past him there. That was, I believe, the number 14. So Sean still in third, but only hanging on now. Let's check on Hank Caston. Can he reel in J.D. Woodworth? Yes, he can. And quickly, too. He's racing up there. It's only 2/10 of a second now. He's reeling them in like they catch fish. On the front stretch now. JD's going to have to defend himself here pretty hard. The 5 catching up with him. That is for the lead. Ooh, 9 almost brushed the wall there. The 5 right underneath that bumper now. And I apologize, we were still on delay there. Now we're back live. And it looks like the 5 is getting ready to make some moves here. Trying underneath. Lap 151. We have 30 laps to go. There we go. Coming underneath the 9 now on the backstretch. Can he make it stick? Still side by side. And it looks like the 9 really doesn't have that much for him anymore. He's just hanging on right now. He's on the high side. Can he do anything? Nope. Just tugs in behind the 5. Reset your senses and try again. The 27 going out of the way for the leaders. Nice work. It's Hank Caston in the 5 car now in the lead. The number 9 of J.D. Woodworth hanging on to that second spot for now. Sean Ritalik in the 10 car in third spot. He's lost about 5 seconds on those guys. Dalton Hayes in 4th, dealing with a back marker there on the high side. It's Colton Cavett in 5th and Anderson in 6th. Let's bring her back here to Caston. He looks like he's fairly well in control. So Cavett here in 5th, and then the 99 and Lane Bullock. Steve Anderson and Lane Bullock for 6th and 7th position. We saw Bullock dropping back because he lost it. The 14 going high, letting him by. That's good work for the 14. Tanner Nowell, he's in 14th position. Looks like Bullock and Anderson are catching up to Cavett. Can Bullock do anything? Going underneath. Yes. He brings it alongside. He brings it ahead. The 99 seems to be too high there to be able to defend. So now Lane Bullock is going after Cavett in the number 4 car. They look pretty evenly matched. And every time they wash up higher, they have to let go of the throttle a little bit to bring it back down. Cavett still in 5th, hanging on, and Lane Bullock in 6th here. He wants it. Caston out there still in front, and it looks like Woodward is hanging with him pretty good. They are, a good 6.5 seconds ahead of Sean Ritalik in the 10. Dalton Hayes is in 4th. And then it's Colton Cavett. Oh, Colton Cavett and the 22 touch. He saves it. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Let's bring that back for you here really quickly. In the turn, taps him on the back, and he saves it. That is awesome. And then the 99, also, it looks like he also gets a little bit of a touch, but that's not enough to upset the 4 car. So now it's Dalton Hayes in 4th. It's Lane Bullock picking up 5th position from Cavett. Not entirely without controversy, I would say. And then it's Cavett with Anderson right behind him. And he's got Blake Powers in the 32 behind him. Ooh, 99 going underneath there. And the 32 is picking up positions left and right. He's doing a great job for being so far back and starting so far back. He's picking them up. He's brought it back to 12th now, actually. And that's because Brian Rose is still parked in the pit. But he's doing a good job. So, who do we have missing? Nobody. It's Hank Caston still in the lead, sorry. J.D. Woodworth still in second, being caught by Sean Ritalik now. Did I see that right? I did not see that right. That's the 28 of Brian Edmonds, and he is in 9th position, so this is not for position. Ritalik is about 7 seconds behind Woodward, and he's got Dalton Hayes about 3 seconds behind him, and Lane Bullock is trying to catch up with Dalton Hayes. It's under 2 seconds now, so let's see what Lane Bullock can do here. Lap 163, 19 laps to go. It looks like the guys have got themselves under control a little bit better now. We got a good stretch of green flag running here. And it's Hank Caston showing most of the muscle at this point. Going around the 97, that's not for position. He's a lap down, or gonna go a lap down. The 14 is also down. Ooh, the 97 gets in trouble there, and ooh, almost takes out the leader, getting in trouble. Let's bring that back here for you. He brushes up against the wall, and the leader has to take evasive action not to slam into that car. Hank Caston hanging on to that lead now. J.D. Woodworth in second. A little bit under 2 seconds, a second and a half, and there it looks like that was the 99. No, that was the 14 getting in trouble once again. Not sure who that was. But it's Caston with a narrow escape there, going around the 97. Still in the lead, Woodworth in second. It looks like that gap is growing steadily, not fast, but it is growing. And then it's Sean Ritalik in third in the number 10 car. That paint job doesn't look quite brand new anymore either. Dalton Hayes hanging on to 4th position. He's not fighting the 27 car there. The 27 car is Jacob Edwards in 11th. He's just trying to get his lap back from that 47 car. What is for position is that pink car, the 22. Oh, the 27 loses it. Let's see if we can find out. Yep, standing still on the race line here. A little bit further back for you. He goes underneath the 47 to pick up a lap, and then he comes back off the turn and he loses it getting on the gas. Can't keep it off the wall and comes to a halt on the racing line. We are under yellow, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of people coming on down to pit road. Lap 169, so we are getting close. That was a good stretch of green flag running with Hank Caston showing some muscle, picking up that lead and walking away from Woodward. And now we're going to reset it all with pit stops. The 5 coming in, Woodward coming in, Ritalik coming in, Hayes coming in, Bullock coming in, Cavett coming in, and the guys staying out are a lap down, so they have to wait until they can make their pit stop. Let's keep an eye on Hank Caston here, see if he can beat everybody out. Yep, tires on the outside. Tires on the inside. Same behind him there, the 47. There he goes. And he noses it in front of the 9. Barely beats him out off of pit road. So it's Caston in front of Woodward. And you saw MacArthur go by. MacArthur picks up the lead here, but I would not be surprised if he's going to bring it into pit road here in a few moments. Oh, he's dropping back actually. Yep, there he goes. He's going into the pits as well. So it's Caston maintaining that lead with 10 laps to go under yellow. Then it's J.D. Woodworth in the 9. Despite his damage, he's been doing a strong run there under green. Couldn't keep the lead, but he hung on to that second spot pretty good. Then it's Sean Retallick. And the damage on the front's not too bad. On the left front, it's just a little bit of a scrape. But on the rear, he's got a little bit of damage, I believe. Yeah, that rear end is not quite straight anymore. Then it's Dalton Hayes in the 4th position. And that car looks pretty clean to me. He's been doing a good job keeping it off the walls and staying out of trouble. Lane Bullock in the 22. He's in 5th position. And yep, that car looks pretty clean to me as well. Then in 6th position, it's Colton Cavett. Also pretty good looking car still. Steve Anderson in 7th position in a 99 car. Ken MacArthur in the 97 coming around from the pit lane in 8th position. And then it's Brian Edmonds in the 28 car. We know his nose is gone. It's Michael Edwards in the 21. Back end a little bit beat up. Let's take a look at Jacob Edwards. He's in the pits. Then it's Blake Powers. He's been running pretty good with as much delay he had on the start. And he was like, I don't know, 13 laps down or something like that. He was in 13s. He's now running in 12th, and he's hanging on. He's keeping it going. Gets a wave around. Tanner Nowell in the 14th car in the 13th spot. Still going. Not giving up. The pace car lights are off. We're going to go racing. It's Hank Caston on the inside, and it's J.D. Woodworth on the outside. Pace car diving in. And the 5 is waiting a little bit, trying to surprise him. And it does kind of, ooh, the 9 and the 10 touch there, and they don't get in trouble for it. But the 10 loses a little bit of speed, and it's Dalton Hayes picking up the 3rd position. And what do they have for each other? It looks like Caston can keep it in front. It's J.D. Howard in 2nd. Can he make something happen? He's trying. He's going underneath. Not quite close enough. And then it's Dalton Hayes. Now the 9 can maybe... Yeah, it looks like he's underneath him. Nope. Dalton Hayes in 3rd. It's Retallick now in 4th. Lane Bullock a little bit further back in 5th. Let's keep an eye on the 9 and the 5 here. Not sure if they touched or not, but it was pretty close. The 9 trying now on the underneath him. And he looks like he gets it underneath there. And J.D. Woodward picks up the lead once again from the 5. And the 5 has got to be careful that Dalton Hayes is... Ooh, the 5 runs into the back of the leader. Hank Caston runs into the back of J.D. Woodward there. Let's bring that back for you really quickly here. On the main straightaway, the 5 is just way too deep there. There's no way he could have made that work. And it takes out the 9. Let's see if Woodward is still running. Well, he's moving. Ooh, 32 trying to avoid him on the high side there. It looks like the 9 is running, but yeah, that was a little bit, I don't know. That did not look pretty to me. Maybe we can see better from another angle. Oops. This is where the 9 picks up the lead after the restart. Let's keep an eye on the 5 here. He's just way too late slowing it down for turn 1. There's no way he could have made that stick. Unfortunate for Woodward, he's had a strong race. He's in the pit lane now. He's had a strong race, having to come back from behind before. So maybe he can still do it again if we... Oh, we're on lap 179, so that doesn't look good. And that means that Dalton Hayes picks up the lead. Guys are waiting on the pace car now. Sometimes it happens that the pace car comes out somewhere in the middle of the pack, and they are just being told to wait for the pace car. And I'm not 100% sure if we're going to do green-white checkers, but I'm checkered. I'm guessing so. Can't tell at this point. Hancasten gets the wave around. He gets to go to the end of the field, or is he picking up the lead? I'm not sure. That would be odd. That would be odd. There might be an interference here from race control. I'm not really sure. It looks like we have several cars in the pits for a splash and dash for those final 2 laps. When we get the green-white checkered, it's Brian Edmonds, Jacob Edwards, Blake Powers, Tanner Nowell, and Kevin. No, Kevin's not in the pits. So that surprises me a little bit, folks. The number 5 getting the lead back here. That seems a bit odd to me, but I'm not race control, and I'm not going to challenge any of those decisions. I'm sure race control knows what they're doing. And it brings Dalton Hayes in a good position to give it a final go here. He's been running a strong race. It's Sean Retallick in 3rd and Lane Bullock in 4th. We're going to go back to racing for green-white checkered. 2 laps to go. No, we're not ready to go just yet. Now the lights on the pace car are out. And I'm sure everybody is going to be pretty pumped to give it a final go at whatever they were working at. Don't count out Retallick and Bullock on that 2nd row there. Casting is in the lead. What can Dalton Hayes do? Here we go. And it looks like Hank gave him a bit of a hiccup there. He's in the lead. It's Dalton Hayes on the high side. It's Retallick. Dalton Hayes now on the high side into that lead. Whoa! That high side works for him now. He picks up the lead. Hank Caston in 2nd. It's Retallick in 3rd. It's Bullock in 4th, having trouble with Woodworth, already up to the 4th position. Unbelievable. That is good stuff. The 47 in the lead. They're on the final lap now. Dalton Hayes, can he do it? Hank Caston, a final turn. Can he get underneath there? He gets underneath there. A dash for the line. Who's going to pick up the win? It's the number 5. And the 47 actually turned in on him there, probably spinning the tires off the turn. It's Hank Caston picking up the win here in front of Dalton Hayes. Then it's Sean Retallick, J.D. Woodworth. It's Bullock in 5th, Ken MacArthur in 6th. It's Brian Edmonds in 7th, and it's Michael Edwards in 8th. And I'm not really sure who we have where when it comes to Steve Anderson. Ooh, let me see here. Let's check out your final standings. There you are, folks. Your final standings in the race. Hank Caston takes home the win. 800 of a second behind him, it's Dalton Hayes, and we saw them almost spinning there at the end. Then it's Sean Retallick picking up third position. J.D. Woodworth brings it all the way up to fourth in those final 2 laps. That is pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. Then it's Lane Bullock in fifth. It's Ken MacArthur in sixth. Brian Edmonds in seventh. Michael Edwards in eighth. Colton Cavett drops to ninth position. Steve Anderson is 10th. Then it's Jacob Edwards in the 11th spot, 22 laps down. Blake Powers brings it home in 12th. He's done some strong running despite being so far back. Then it's Tanner Nowell shown in 13th with 38 laps down. Brian Rose, we saw him park it in the pits after that final incident. He's 66 laps down, and Kevin Woods, 157 laps down, gave up fairly early in the race with too much damage. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for your race here with the Coast to Coast iRacing League, the fourth round in the series here at Richmond Raceway. Caston, Hayes, and Retallick is your top three finishers tonight. We seen quite a bit of yellows here. We had a good green flag stint for a while there, and then at the end we had to do it with a green-white checkered. Casting, getting that lead on that restart. Dalton Hayes giving it all he had, but it was unfortunately not enough by only 800 of a second. So too bad for him. Good effort, and it was a fun race to watch. So we'll hope to see you next week for the fifth round. The fifth round of the series will be in Dover. We're going to be doing the same thing as we did tonight with a reversed standings grid. So we'll keep you updated on those standings before we get started there. And the reverse standings, we'll grid them up for Dover a week from today. We hope to see you there. This is Short Shift Broadcasting. My name is Mark, and I bid you good night.